In the age of smartphones, video games, and TV, how do you rip your kids away from the screen and get them to read? Wall Street Journal editor and author Christopher Farley is hoping to do just that with his new book, Game World. It's about a group of kids who get drawn into their own fantasy world through a video game. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so you're used to writing books for adults. What made you kind of get into the younger adult novel, and how is it different to write for that audience?
Well, kids will do that to you. I have an 8-year-old, I have an 11-year-old boy, and my daughter, she reads all the time. My son maybe doesn't read as much as he should. He's a great student, but maybe he should be reading more. So I thought, well, how can I get him to read more? What can I do? And I thought, let me write a book that addresses some of his concerns, maybe has at the heart of it some video games. Maybe that'll suck him into reading books and being as excited about the written word as I am.
And when you look at some of the main characters in this book, I mean, Dylan is an African-American kid with ADHD. Eli is a genius hacker in a wheelchair. Why did you decide to build characters that are not kind of the cookie-cutter types that we see a lot in children's books?
Well, I love fantasy novels. I love Tolkien. I love C.S. Lewis. I love all those books like that explore different worlds with fantasy creatures. But I don't always see people that look like me or my kids or kids that are in their classroom up there on the screen. So I always thought that people should have the opportunity to dream in color. I mean, why not? And so I thought, let me write a fantasy book that looks like the kids in the classroom that my son goes to, so they can have people in books that really reflect their experiences.
And when we think about some of these most famous, fantasy worlds, Middle-earth, Narnia, Neverland, a lot of these are now more than a decade old. Do you think that that world is at risk of kind of going away?
It's hard work to build a fantasy world, and people can get their fantasy through video games, so they think, well, why should I do the hard work of actually reading in a book when I can just have it spoon-fed to me through a video game? But there's something important about building these images in your own head, not just getting it from the movies, not just getting it from a joystick or a controller, but really getting it from reading a book. And so I wanted to write this book so kids could go about creating their own fantasy worlds in their own heads when they read it.
And you actually think that these children's books will help kids when they grow up and they go to work. Why is that?
Well, every great idea begins with a fantasy. So I think when you have an active imagination, when you're dreaming of new worlds, those are the kinds of people that create new things, I think, in the workplace and in business. And also, because it's a whole multicultural cast of characters, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, and they're all in this book, I think it helps kids to imagine what other people are thinking. And I think when you go into the workplace, when you go to school, you meet all kinds of people, and you should be able to know how to relate to them. And I think kids' books don't always allow you to do that, because studies show less than 3% of the heroes in kids' books are actually African American. So if you want to meet different kinds of people, want to meet them in books first, you'll have a better chance of being able to deal with people successfully out there in the workplace.
All right, the book is Game World. Chris Farley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.